Hello everyone, Vivacity here, and welcome back to the channel for quite a different kind of video today. So as you can tell by the title and obviously the screen here, we are not going to be playing any Sims today. I am going to be showing you later in this video in the Sims 3 game how you actually access these files and what I use particularly. But right now we're going to be focusing on how to download Nraas mods because I have been getting a lot of questions on how to download them and how to use them once you actually have them in your game. And I'm going to preface this by saying that I am by no means an expert on these mods. I do not have all of them. I do not know how to thoroughly use every aspect of every mod that I have. I'm just simply going to be showing you guys the mods that I downloaded from Nraas and the ways in which I use them. So for example, the Master Controller mod has a lot of things you can do with it, and obviously I don't use or know how to use every single aspect of the Master Controller. I'm simply going to be showing you the aspects that I do know how to use and the ones that I have used in my Let's Plays in the past, particularly generations, because I've been getting a lot of questions about that. So what you're going to do, so you can see on the left here, I have it open up to my Sims 3 mods packages folder. And if you don't have a mod folder in the Sims 3, you're going to need to download one, and I'll put the link for this website in the description down below. It's for Mod the Sims, and they have it very detailed here on how to download the Sims 3 mod folder, how to download the package file and what you'll need and all that stuff. I'm not going to go over it because they do detail it very nicely on that page. So if you don't have it, pause this video, go down in the description, click on that link, and follow the instructions to get the mods and packages folder. So once you have the folder already, you can go into the Sims 3 under Electronic Arts, which should be in your Documents folder. You click on Mods, and you're going to want to go to Packages. And this is where you're going to drag and drop all of the Nraas mods that you do download. And if I actually go ahead and highlight them here for you, I do have some other mods in my Packages folder, but all of these are Nraas mods. So I have Career and then a module for it. So basically what they do for Nraas, which this is the website, it'll be in the description, but it's just nraas.wikispaces.com. They, for every mod they have, which they do have a lot, they have a base mod, which you have to download. And then some mods have something on top of that. Like let's go to Master Controller, because I know that has a bunch. So you'll want to go to the newest version, which will always be up here. Older versions will be listed under older versions, and you're not going to want those. So you're going to do the base mod, and then you can choose any of the other mods that you want to download on top of that, and they just sort of add to the base of whichever mod you're downloading. So I have the Career, and then I have the addition of Career Data Academics, and then I have Error Trap, Master Controller Cheats, Master Controller Integration, Master Controller Progression, Mover, Overwatch, Portrait Panel, Story Progression Career, Story Progression Relationship, and the Woohooer. Now all of these mods do different things, and I'll go over that in a second, but to actually see how to download them, I actually have one that I wanted to download right now with you guys just so you can see it. So I recently got, well not recently, it's been a while now, but I recently actually downloaded and started playing with World Adventures, which I know it's been a very long time since that came out, but it was the last pack that I got. So we're going to go to Traveler, which you're going to want to read whichever one you click on very carefully up here, because as you can see, the Traveler mod, for instance, does not work without World Adventures. It doesn't unlock the ability to use World Adventures. You need to have this pack installed to be able to use this mod. And there are a couple other ones where it's the same or a similar thing where you need to have a certain pack in order to use a mod. So you're going to want to make sure that you read through that and that your mod will actually work in your game. So for Traveler, we're going to scroll down, and what you're going to see is it's going to say under versions, and right now there's only a base mod for Traveler. Well, I say right now, but they're not coming out with any more. So this mod, we don't have any add-ons that we could potentially get. We're only going to get the base mod. So we're going to click on that, and it brings us up into this page. So all you really have to do is you scroll down to the end where it says Files, and you click Download. And it should start downloading. Now this is something that you're going to need to unzip. So if you went through this, or if you've been in the Sims 3 or the Sims 4 downloading mods for a while, you know how to do this. You are going to need a program to actually unzip folders. But for now, we're going to go to Downloads, and there it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag it into our Packages folder. I always like to do this first before extracting because I feel like it's safer. I don't run the risk of losing any of the files. And then I'm just going to extract it here. And then I'm going to delete the one here that is not extracted. So as you can see, we're going to go ahead and highlight all my Nraas controller mods again. And there we go, Nraas Traveler, it's in there, it's good. And it should be working when I open up my game. So now let's talk for a minute about the ones that I do have. So the first one I have on here is careers. And what this does is it adds a bunch of custom careers to your game. And they act like normal careers. Some of them, most of them actually, act like careers that came with ambitions. So it'll be like gardener, painter, it'll be like that kind of thing that you kind of do at home. And there are also some, as you can see here, there's more like part-time jobs you can get. So they contain custom part-time careers that provide skills useful in later careers, and just a bunch of other things. You can even get a career for unemployed. So it'll actually act as a placeholder so that your Sims will not, I'm actually going to download that. Should I get self-employed? Do I have self-employed? I do not. So we're going to get unemployed and we're going to get self-employed. So we got that. We're going to go back and get self-employed because I think unemployed is a really useful one that I've been meaning to get for a while and just totally forgot about. And basically what it does is it acts as a placeholder career so that when you switch out of your family, EA won't be like, or the game rather won't be like, oh, your Sim doesn't have a career, let's randomly get one for them. And that is something that's definitely going to happen if you have the story progression mods like I do, but we're going to ignore that for now. Next one I have is Error Trap, and I definitely recommend that anybody playing The Sims 3 get this game, especially if you're using, like me, a good amount of mods or custom content or both. If we actually find it here, Error Trap is really awesome at just cleaning up your world. You can set it in the game so it automatically does it like really late at night, which is why sometimes if I'm playing The Sims 3, you'll see that at like 2 or 3 in the morning, the game kind of slows down and stutters for a little bit and then it goes back to normal. And that is because Error Trap is working its magic. So it cleans up like bad save files that you're not using anymore. No, it does not affect save files that you already have, although I do recommend before putting any of these mods in your game to actually back up your save file. All of your save files, just in case, you never know. But Error Trap is really good at removing Sims that are just kind of like stuck in areas and cars, and it turns off like radios. It does all this stuff to keep your game running really smoothly, and it does it every night, which is great. So I definitely recommend Error Trap. And then we have the Master Controller, and this is the one that, everybody everybody wants, everybody uses all the time. I definitely use this the most out of all the other Nraas controller mods, or all the other Nraas Industries mods, I should say. So what I have for Master Controller, there's a bunch you can get, but again, you're only want to get new versions or like the newest version. So you're going to need the base mod to do any of the other ones, again, like I said earlier, and then I have 3 of them. So there's 4 you can get. You can get expanded tattoos, which just expands the different like places on your Sims that you can get tattoos. So you won't be getting any new tattoos unless you download them from custom content websites, but you will be able to put them in new places. And then we have the cheats, which just adds more advanced cheats. And I definitely recommend getting this if you're getting the base mod, because a lot of the things that I do in my Sims games are the more quote unquote cheaty cheats. So you're going to need the cheats. And then integration, what it does is the description here, it says it replaces in-game interactions with custom versions that call Master Controller functionality. So that's a bunch of fancy jargon. It basically just means that Nraas is going to look and work better in your game, and it's going to look more smooth, I guess. It's going to look like it's a part of the game, basically. So I definitely recommend that. And then progression, I only really recommend getting progression if you're getting story progression. The story progression is another Nraas mod, and it's one that a lot of people have issues with because it does have the tendency to slow down your game if you don't have a really high-performing computer, because it speeds up how much is going on in the rest of the town, and like way beyond the level that EA does, which you have seen in a lot of The Sims 3 generations, especially because in university, we're away at university, so there's not anything going on really. But story progression for sure, I use a lot in my Sims game. I don't know if I'd be able to live without it, but just beware that it can be very taxing on your game. If you do decide to get it though, I do recommend getting progression for the master controller mods as well, because it adds interactions specifically related to story progression in order to, like it adds them to the master controller mod basically. So you can deal with story progression stuff from the master controller. And like it says here, you need to have the base mod installed for story progression in order for this to work. Now if we move on, I also have the mover. So if we go to mover, so basically what this mod does, which I have used, I believe I've used this in my Generations Let's Play, I'm sure I did, but this is the mod that specifically allows you to have more than 8 Sims per household. I was getting a lot of questions about this mod when we were doing Generations, because I was saying that I was planning on having a lot of animals, a lot of children, how I would do that. This gets rid of that. It also gets rid of the requires adult restrictions for edit town mode. So if you go into a town and you have a teenager and a young adult living together, you can split up the household and separate them, and they will allow you to have the teen live on their own. I'm fairly certain it will not allow you to have a teen by themselves when you just create them and create a sim. You might have to create them and create a sim with a young adult or an elder, and then separate them later using the edit town option. But either way you can do it, so that's really helpful. And that's pretty much all that the mover does. But it is a pretty awesome mod. So let's go to Overwatch. This is another one that is in charge of cleaning up your game. So Overwatch also is the one that is continually working to clean up this one and Air Trap together. I really like. I love how it actually helps my game run smoother, even though I have all of these mods installed and quite a bit of custom content. Not as much as I used to have, but quite a bit. So definitely I recommend getting Overwatch if you're getting any Nraas mods at all. Or even if you don't want like mods in your game, if you still feel like your game is being really laggy, if it could be fixed up, I recommend trying Overwatch and Air Trap in order to try to clean that. So now we go to portrait panel. And this is something that you're going to need if you want to download the mover mod. And the way that this works is that the mover mod allows you to have more than 8 Sims per household, but you won't be able to see all their portraits along the side of the game unless you have portrait panel. And I know it sounds a little confusing without actually having the game in front of here to show you, but I'll talk about it when we go back to the game. So what this does is it actually allows up to 24 portraits to show up the side, and the portraits are just the little squares that have your Sim's face on it that you click on in order to switch to that Sim. And if you don't have this mod and you do have the mover mod, you can still have more than 8 Sims per household, but it'll only show, I think, 8, maybe 9 portraits. So if you have 10 Sims, you won't get to see their portrait over there, and you'll have to try to just like find them and then right click on them in order to play as them. It's a little annoying, so definitely recommend portrait panel if you want to get the mover and if you plan on having more than 8 Sims per household. Now if we move on to what's next, story progression. Okay, so I talked about this already a little bit. It's basically just a mod that adds to the story progression of EA. It actually like replaces it, and it's really awesome. You have to get the base mod, and then there's a lot of extras you can get. The only extras that I have are the career one, which just contains scenarios related to careers, and then which other one? The relationship one, because I didn't really feel the need to get any more. Maybe I will get more, we'll see. In the future. But what the story progression mod does, and something really awesome that it does, is that it actually alerts you when people in your family, or however you set it up, it could be anybody in town, it could be your friends, your enemies, your family, whatever, it alerts you to what they're doing, and it constantly makes them get married, get in relationships, have children, get divorced, and if you have the career mod, it makes them, get promotions, get demoted, and all this stuff, and it alerts you. It gives a little message, and it's not just like this person did this, like they actually are like really creative about it, and they have nice little stories to tell sometimes. So definitely love this mod, but again, this is something that is very graphically intensive on your game. It takes up a lot in The Sims 3 because you do have Sims doing so many things around you in the world, and especially if you have bigger worlds, like when I was living in Storybrooke County in The Sims 3 Generations, it can get pretty taxing and it can get pretty laggy, so be aware. Now, Traveler is the one that we just downloaded. at the beginning, so I'm not going to go over that, but we do have the last one, which is the Woohooer mod. And this one is the mod that allows for risky woohoo, which you can set in the game how much percent you want it to be. And basically risky woohoo, if you guys don't know, just means that when you click on it instead of regular woohoo, then there's like a 10% or however much percent you set chance that you'll have a baby. But it's not as great a chance as try for baby, which I think is something crazy like 90%. So yeah, that's pretty fun. There's a bunch of different things that you can get here. I only have the base Woohooer mod, which also in the Woohooer mod, it allows you to set if you want to have relationships between teens and young adults, or if you want teens to be able to get pregnant. That sort of stuff you can all do with the Woohooer mod, because that deals with all of that. It's not actually with the story progression mod, which a lot of people think it is. It's with the Woohooer mod. And there's a lot of weird things that you can do here. And actually, I might get this Eiffel Tower one now that I have World Adventures, but we're going to leave that alone for now. So once you have all the mods that you want to have in your game, just go ahead and install them like how we installed Traveler before. Again, make sure you back up your game before you do this. I cannot recommend that more highly. Back up your game, and then put them in here and you should be good to go. You don't need to install them like when you get content from the Sims 3 store or anything like that. They'll already be in your game. You won't have to deal with anything with the launcher. So now we're actually going to go into the Sims 3 and I will see you guys there, and so I can talk to you a bit about how to actually use the mods and how I've used them. Alright, so here we are actually in the Sims 3 game. As you can see, I'm currently playing in Monte Vista, and this is one of my current households. So it's not an LP, we won't be looking at any characters today, but I do want to show you some of the notifications that pop up once you have all of the mods, or some of them that I've downloaded already. So when you have story progression, what will come up is you will say that EA story progression has been disabled, and the Nraas story progression has been activated. And if you want to make any changes to the story progression for Nraas, there's a couple different ways you can do that. So the way that I do it, first of all, you're going to notice with the Nraas mods that pretty much whenever you click on something now, it's going to have an option to say Nraas, and there are options that you can do from there. I only use the Nraas mods when I'm using them to click on the sim that I'm controlling, or if you go to City Hall. So in order to do anything with story progression, you're going to need to go to City Hall and do Nraas, because this is going to control the entire town. So you just look to find the Nraas, and then you click on story progression, and you'll see a bunch of options, and pretty much everything that you're going to need to know or want to change is going to be under general. And here you can see that you're either enabling the story progression or you're disabling it, in which case just the regular EA story progression will be taking place. There's also a bunch of options here. So say you want to mess with pregnancy. So you click on pregnancy. You can change all of the chance of people who are getting married to have babies. You can change if you want more girls to be born in your town instead of boys. You change this from balanced to either female, male, or random. And anytime that you click something, you just keep clicking the check mark here in order to get out. Now, the one thing that is very important if you have story progression is these stories down here. So again, we're going to click out of this just so I can show you how to get into it. But when you have the story progression mod, you're going to be getting a lot of stories up here telling you about what's going on in the town. So this is from Error Trap that was recorded last night, and it looks like we haven't had any more since then. But basically, you're going to get little pop-ups over here telling you what's going on with the Sims in your town, and you're not going to want to know about every Sim going on in the town. Maybe you do, in which case you can just leave this alone. But for me, I only want to know about Sims that I'm friends with, that I'm family with, or in some cases that I'm enemies with. So we're gonna click on City Hall, go to Nraas, story progression. We're gonna go to general options, and then we are going to go down to all stories. So you click on all stories, and what this does is if you just click on all, then you'll be getting all of the stories, but we don't want all of the stories in our game. So right now I have it set to what I like, which is blood is set to yes, which means we'll get them. If you click on it and you click OK, then it'll change to no. So you can see that's highlighted right now, so you can do a bunch of options all at once. So what I like to have set is blood, which is family, enemies, friends, and then down here I have also romantic and spouses. So if I am romantically involved with somebody and they change their job or something, that'll show up here, as well as if I'm for some reason married to someone but not in the same household. You can also change it to where it's only residents, so only people that live in a house in the town versus homeless Sims. And that is how you take care of a lot of things for story progression. Another thing that I've been getting a lot of questions about is how to add Sims to your household if you don't create them in the same create a Sim. So if you don't create them in the same create a household, like say I create this Sim and then later on I create her mother and I want them to be related. So that's not the case with these Sims, but I did change it so that she was not actually related to her so I could show you. So right now it says that she only has her father. She doesn't know who her mother is. It's not in her tree. So what we're going to do, you're not going to need to click on the Sim that you want to add to the family. You're just going to be selected as the Sim whose family tree you want to change. You're going to click on yourself, go to Nraas, Master Controller, Advanced, Family, and you're going to do add parent. Now you can only add parent or child, but that just means that you have to do a little bit of a working around. So say you want to add a sister for her, that means that you need to add a parent first and then click on that parent and add that, for that parent, add a child to the sister. And then through the parent, they'll become sisters, if that makes sense. So when you get to this, after clicking on parent, you're just going to click the little check mark down here, because that was sort of a filtering system. And now you're going to see all of the people in the town, and it's organized alphabetically by last name. So we just scroll down to Daniels because that was the name of our mother. There she is, Natalie Daniels. So we click on her. So she's highlighted. We click the check mark, and now if we go into our family tree, there she is as our mother. And she's not going to automatically be married to our father or anything. It's just going to add the relationship as our mother. And again, if we wanted to add a sibling, we would have to add it through a parent. So now that we've done this, if we had a sibling we wanted to add, we would click on Natalie. We would go to Nraas, Master Controller, Advanced, Family, and we would add a child. Now sometimes add sibling just comes up, especially if you already have siblings, but if you are an only child, the add sibling is not going to come up. It's very strange. So you can add the sibling that way if you already have other siblings, or if you are an only child like this Sim is, then you're going to need to go to the parent and add another child. And then let's just click on somebody random up here. So now when we go into the family tree, it'll say that these are her children and they're related. Now we do want to get rid of that though, because this Sim is actually not related to us. So if you mess up, or if you decide you don't want somebody to be related anymore, you do the same thing, Advanced, Family, and instead you're just going to do remove child, and it comes up with all of our children. We click on this, we get rid of it. Now if you want them to have the same two parents, as you saw there, it said that Shauna was only the daughter of Natalie, not of Pedro, then you just have to have Pedro come into the household somehow, control him to get him to have Shauna as a child, and then it would all be squared away. So that is how you change your family trees. The other thing with Master Controller that I use a lot is actually editing in CAS, because if you just type in testing cheats enabled true, which this is how most people do it, and this is how I did it for a while, and then you shift click on your Sim, and you do edit and create a Sim, what this actually does is it resets your Sim's age completely to the beginning of the stage that they're at. So this would go totally down to she had just turned into an elder. And a lot of people don't want that because they don't want their age to reset every time they want to change their Sim completely and create a Sim. So a way around that with the Nraas mods is to click on your Sim, click on Nraas, Master Controller, and then you can either click on Stylist down here, which will bring you to like the makeup stylist, where you can add more than one outfit, change all their outfits, their hair, their makeup all at once. Or if you really want to change the way they look and their aspirations and traits, you go to Advanced and Edit in CAS. And when you click Edit in CAS, I might as well show you. It literally brings you right into Create a Household, just only with the Sim that you've clicked on. And you can change everything about them. So you can change their basics. You can literally even just like change them to a vampire if you wanted to. You can change all of their clothing, their hair, all of their traits, their aspirations. And when you're done, you just click accept. And if you play in this for a while, and you decide, you know what, you really don't like what you've done to them, you want to change it back, and you don't feel like, going through the undo button a million times, just click the X, and it does say, are you sure you want to delete this household and leave create a sim? Just hit yes. It's not actually going to delete your sim or your household at all. It's just the prompt that comes up automatically. As you can see, our family is fine. Now, if we do look at some of the other mods that I use, so let's go to Nraas. We talked about story progression, we talked about master controller. Woohooer is what you're going to want to do if you want to change anything related to risky woohoo. So if you click on risky, you can decide whether you want the pregnancy, like, I'm trying to think of a way to describe this, the pregnancy gender to be random or not, or you can even assign it so that it, like, the gender is always the gender of the sim who tries for a baby. You can do that. It's a little weird, but you can show the risky chance in menu, or you can not show it in menu, so it'll be hidden. And you can also change it for different species, so for cats, dogs, horses, whatever. But mostly for the Woohooer mod, you're just going to go into general. And this is where all of these settings are, where you can either change clothing on room exit, which just means that if two Sims have woohoo and then they decide to leave the room and go back to the rest of the household, they change back into their everyday wear instead of being in their pajamas or their underwear, which is pretty nice. And then there's a couple more. Enforce privacy just means that they like kick everybody out of the room before they do anything. Show interactions under romance will basically be that we don't have anybody romantically involved here, but it'll show the risky woohoo and it'll show how much %. And down here is where you can unlock actions for teenagers. So if you were wondering how to allow your teenagers to have woohoo and possibly get pregnant, this is how you do it with the woohoo mod under general and unlock actions. You can also, if you so choose, use a naked outfit instead of having your Sims be in their pajamas when they're done woohooing. They will be like the pixelated naked. And yeah, there's a couple things like that. You can also change, yeah, let's actually change this to random. This basically affects the gender of the baby. You can allow plant sim pregnancy, which, I'm going to turn that on true. Why not? And hit back. And if you go to romance, you can allow teen marriage if there is existing offspring, meaning if they had children before or if they had not. You can allow teen and adult romance, all of this stuff. Yeah, so that's pretty much it with the Woohooer. Let's take a look at some of the other things. So portrait panel is pretty much something that's going to do its own thing over here. You don't really have to worry about it. Overwatch, you don't really have to mess with. The only thing with Overwatch is you can change different commands. And if you go under settings, you can change what it does when it actually does do its cleanup. So, for instance, I don't like it to clean up all the homeless Sims because not all Sims live in houses but are relevant to my storylines. So, because they're just NPCs and I haven't played with them. So I turn that on false so that way it doesn't delete all of them. And I also, you can change whether or not it affects the lot that you're on. I always have mine set to false, but who knows, maybe I should put that on true. I also make sure to turn off Cleanse the Dead, because otherwise it will get rid of the ghost attachments to tombstones, and it'll kind of be like The Sims 4, where after a while the ghosts are no longer associated with the tombstones, and they're just random tombstones that you can't interact with and that don't have ghosts attached to them, so I definitely make sure I set that to false. And that's about it, really. I don't really mess with anything else around here. If you want to change what time of night it happens, then you just click Set Alarm Hour down here. And again, this is under Settings. And, oh, almost clicked the wrong one. Set Alarm Hour, and you just type in the number of the time that you would like it to happen. And it happens on the hour, and it happens in the PM. So it happens at night. But the thing is, if you type in 3 like me, like I did, it's not going to do 3 p.m. in the afternoon. It's going to do 3 a.m. in the morning. So just something to be aware of. Whatever you click as the time, that's going to happen at night. Now, one mod that I did not get the chance to actually play with because I just downloaded it with you guys was the Traveler. So I do want to check that out really quick. First of all, let me see if it actually downloaded. It should have. Yep, there's the Traveler mod. Okay, so we can perform travel actions is true. Prompt to save is true. Okay, so we should be able to do this. So let's real estate and travel, and let's travel. And basically what the travel mod does, which I didn't really talk about in the beginning when we were downloading it, is it allows you to travel to worlds that are not just the worlds that came with World Adventures. And you can stay there for as long as you'd like. So you can basically like temporarily move to another city. You do need to get up your visa first to actually be able to do that, unfortunately, but like you can go to China, Egypt, and France. But you can also go to Appaloosa Plains and Bridgeport and all the worlds that you have installed in your game. So this is a custom world. They can go to Bridge World if they want to. They can go to Hidden Springs. So if you want, you can take a vacation to Isla Paradiso and just rent out a house and stay there for a while. It's going to be more expensive than the other ones, but it's pretty cool. And I'm definitely loving this. So I'm going to be using that for sure in my game. I don't know if I'll actually be using it in my Let's Plays, but hopefully we'll see in the future. Now, any change that you do make with an Nraas mod is going to show up here. So these are just some things that I was changing. It's just going to say that it changed. You can just X out of that and ignore it. And if we kind of speed through here a bit, I would love for something to actually pop up from the story progression so you can see it. But you guys have seen this in my gameplay before. Especially with Generations when we had such a large family and so many of those family members living outside of the lot, we would get notifications about them all the time. So I'm not super worried about having to show you right now, but it is also going to show you if Sims become unroutable. So our unicorn became unroutable and then got reset here. So it does help speed up your game by just cleaning up things everywhere. You don't have to get every single mod that I downloaded to do that. Again, it's mostly just the Overwatch and the Error Trap mods. And then if you want to be able to change some more cheaty things, then you're gonna need the master controller. Now, this is showing us, it's actually related to one of our dogs has like children, a bunch of them. Yeah, Kia has like the hugest family tree. So we just got a notification that said 2 new puppies now reside at the Barrera household after Susie gave birth to Barky's litter. Future ankle biters in the making, we're sure. So we just get random things like this. If 2 Sims are like having hard times romantically, then it'll say like, you know, that they're struggling, and then it'll say that they have broken up. It's usually pretty, pretty gradual, I feel like. And you can also, if you want to change the length of your Sims lifespan. So like say we change it to long instead of normal. One of the first things that will actually pop up is say, this is from story progression. It says that you have appeared to change the age span. Do you wish to adjust the manager speeds to match the new span? So what this means is that story progression is going to work differently if you have your age or your Sims age set to different lengths. So if you have a longer life, your Sims are going to do things a little bit more slowly around town. So you would click yes and it would match. And we're going to do, if we go back to options and we go back to normal, then it'll ask us if we want to change it back, and we do. And that's pretty much everything that I use on a daily basis to use these mods. And if you do have any more questions, please let me know in the comments down below. I will probably not make another video like this, but if there are enough questions, I'll do a follow-up. And hopefully I can answer some of them in the comments down below. And hopefully this video answered some questions for you. So thank you guys as always for watching. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up if you liked and enjoyed. And also leave those comments if you have any more questions. And I will see you guys next time.